3 agents walk into a store.
Uh-oh.
I know, I know. It sounds like the setup for a really terrible dad joke. You're just waiting for the punchline about, I don't know, a bartender or something.
It definitely has that vibe.
Yes.
But in this case, there is no punchline. Or maybe the punchline is a multi-million-dollar wake-up call for the entire retail industry.
Right. And we aren't talking about secret agents, and we are definitely not talking about talent agents.
Yeah, we're talking about AI agents.
Exactly. So today, we are diving into this fascinating piece of journalism by Shish S., published just recently in January 2026.
It's a really pivotal piece. It documents a collaboration that involves Microsoft for startups and 3 specific companies: Nimble, Omnistream, and History.
And the mission of this deep dive is to really unpack a concept that sounds a bit like science fiction, but is, well, it's actually happening right now. It's called agentic retail.
Agentic retail.
Yeah. It sounds impressive, maybe a little intimidating. So before we get into the weeds, what are we actually defining here? Because, I mean, let's be honest, every company has a chatbot now. Is this just better customer service bots?
No, and that is probably the most crucial distinction to make right up front. We aren't talking about a bot answering a question on a website.
Or writing a marketing email.
Right. We are talking about multiple distinct AI agents working together as a team, a coordinated team, to solve physical logistical problems. The headline promise here is solving problems that usually take retailers months, but doing it in minutes.
Okay, months into minutes. That is the kind of phrase that, usually triggers my skepticism alarm. It just sounds like marketing fluff.
I was skeptical too.
Yeah.
I really was. But the origin story of this whole project is what hooks me. It didn't start with some polished corporate strategy or a boardroom mandate.
No.
It actually started as a blog post.
A blog post.
Yeah, a thought experiment. Shish S. wrote this theoretical piece about multi-agent systems, basically just asking, what if different AIs could talk to each other to run a store? It was purely speculative.
Just an idea.
Just an idea. But the reaction from the retail industry wasn't, oh, nice idea. It was essentially, call your bluff.
They challenged him.
They did. Retail execs basically said, cool story, but can you actually do it? Show us this isn't just another slide deck. And the challenge was to prove it works in a live scenario at the NRF Big Show.
For anyone who doesn't follow the industry, that's the National Retail Federation Conference. It's basically the Super Bowl of retail.
Exactly. So if you crash and burn there, everybody sees it. And the timeline they had.
Well, I guess 6 months.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. To wire together 3 different companies' tech stacks into, a functioning brain? That sounds incredibly high risk.
Extremely. But 3 founders accepted the mission. Uriel Norovich from Nimble, Wendy Chen from Omnistream, and Mario Magella from History. They had a 2-week sprint to go from just a conversation to a live demo.
Okay, so the stakes are set. They've got 2 weeks. They have the tech. But tech needs a problem to solve. What was the actual scenario? Because if they just used AI to order more paper towels, I'm going to be pretty disappointed.
No, they went for something much, much messier. They chose a scenario that creates, immediate anxiety for anyone who has ever worked in merchandising. We're talking about the category manager problem.
Okay, put me in the shoes of this manager. What's the crisis?
So you manage the hair care category for a major chain. Let's say you've got 200 urban stores under your watch. You start seeing these early signals for a new trend, scalp health.
Scalp health. Okay, so we're talking rosemary oil, serum, specialist treatment. I've seen this all over TikTok, the skinification of hair, right?
It's exactly that. People treating their scalp like their face.
Yeah.
Social media is blowing up with it, search data is spiking, and customers are actually walking into your stores looking for rosemary oil.
Okay, so I'm the manager. I see the demand. I see the search terms. I order the oil and put it on the shelf. Problem solved, right? Why do I need AI for that?
In a perfect world, sure. In the real world of retail, it's a nightmare.
Why?
Because of physics. Your shelves are already full.
Ah, the space issue.
It's zero sum.
Yeah.
Your shelves are packed with, say, volumizing shampoos. That was the trend from 2 years ago. Those products are just sitting there gathering dust, sales are declining, but they are physically occupying the real estate you need for the new stuff.
And I assume I can't just throw the old shampoo in the trash.
Not if you want to keep your job, no.
Yeah.
Plus, your budgets are likely frozen for the quarter. Your supply chain is built for predictability. Big trucks moving big pallets on a set schedule. It hates surprises.
So I'm seeing money on the table, this whole rosemary oil trend, but I'm stuck in what I call approval hell.
Precisely. And this is the silo problem. The insight team knows the trend is real. The merchandising team knows they have no space. The supply chain team knows they can't ship it fast enough.
And by the time these three teams have enough meetings to agree on a plan,
It's 3 months later.
and the trend is dead. The speed of culture has moved on to, I don't know, onion juice?
Laughs. Probably onion juice, yes. So the impossible goal for this NRF demo was this: launch a fully stocked scalp health section in those top 200 urban stores next week.
Next week, without just destroying profit margin.
Without triggering markdowns on the old stuff and without eroding margins on the new stuff. That was the constraint.
Okay, that frames the stakes perfectly. It's a Rubik's Cube of logistics, finance, and consumer behavior. So let's walk through how agentic retail actually tackles this. You mentioned three agents. Who is up first?
First up is Nimble. And we can think of Nimble as the detective.
The detective. So its job is just to scrape TikTok.
It's much more than that. Its job is validation. This is the step most companies get completely wrong.
Yeah.
Just because you see a hashtag on social media doesn't mean you should re-merchandise 200 stores.
Right. It could be a flash in the pan, a 3-day wonder. If I pivot my whole supply chain for a meme, I'm fired.
You're fired. Exactly. You can't chase every ghost. So Nimble's role is to separate noise from signal. It ingests massive amounts of real-time data, social signals, search behavior, e-commerce velocity. But the most important thing it looks for is conversion.
Meaning, are people actually spending money?
Yes. Are they just liking the video, or are they actually buying the product? And in this scenario, Nimble found 3 critical truths in a matter of minutes. First, the trend is early, but it's accelerating. Second, purchase intent is high, people are putting dollars down.
Okay.
And third, and this is the kicker, specialty retailers had already moved.
So the niche beauty shops, the Sephoras and Ultas of the world.
Right. They were already stocking it. But mass retail, the big box stores, they had a narrow window to act. If they waited, they'd lose that customer permanently.
So Nimble is telling us, this is real, you can make money, but you are already late.
Effectively, yes. The article uses this great phrase: Nimble turns instinct into evidence. Usually a merchant goes to the CFO and says, hey, I feel like this is going to be big. And the CFO says,
Come back with a spreadsheet.
come back with a spreadsheet. And by the time you make that spreadsheet, it's too late. Nimble provides the evidence instantly. It identifies specific products. It analyzes their margin profile. So instead of a hunch, you have a business case.
Okay, so now we have the evidence, we know what to do, but now we run into that brick wall of reality, the where.
Exactly. And that brings in agent number 2, OmniStream. You can think of OmniStream as the strategist.
So Nimble hands the baton to OmniStream. Hey, we need to sell rosemary oil. What does OmniStream actually do? Because planning sounds, a little vague.
Well, the lazy way to handle this, the human way, would be a blanket reset. You'd send a memo to all 2,000 stores.
One size fits all.
Delete row 4, add rosemary oil.
Yeah.
And one size fits nobody. Store A might be in a trendy college town where trends move fast. Store B might be in a retirement community where nobody cares about scalp health. If you put the oil in store B, it just sits there. You lose money.
So how does the AI do it differently?
OmniStream takes a computational approach. It models store-specific microplanograms.
Microplanograms. That sounds like a headache for whoever has to actually stack the shelves.
Oh, it would be impossible for a human to calculate this for 200 stores individually. You'd need an army of analysts. OmniStream looks at historical performance, shopper behavior in that specific zip code, and this is key, the physical fixture constraints. It knows exactly how big the shelf is in Chicago versus Miami.
So it's basically playing Tetris, but with profit margins.
That is a perfect analogy. In the demo, OmniStream identified exactly which 200 stores had the highest concentration of customers looking for this scalp health trend. It ignored the rest.
Smart.
Then it had to make the hard decision: what do we kill?
The volumizing shampoo.
Right. But which one?
Yeah.
And how much space? It decided which specific SKUs, the aging products, to compress or remove. And maybe in New York you need 4 feet of shelf space for the new trend because demand is huge, but in Boston you only need 2 feet.
And it does this calculation for every single one of those stores individually.
Individually and instantly. It creates what the article calls a financially grounded recommendation. The category manager can see the margin impact before a single product is moved. It's not a guess, it's a simulation. It predicts the future P&L of that shelf change.
That is wild. I mean, usually you just roll the dice and wait for the quarterly report to find out if you messed up.
Exactly. Here, you know the financial outcome before you even commit.
Okay, I'm with you so far. The detective found the trend. The strategist drew the map. Now comes the part that I feel is the hardest to solve with software. The logistics. The actual moving of atoms.
The mover. This is agent number 3,
Industry.
Udistry. So why is this the hardest part? I mean, we have trucks, don't we?
We have trucks, but supply chains are rigid. They're designed for efficiency, not agility. If the rosemary oil is sitting in a warehouse in Ohio and you need it in Manhattan by Tuesday, your only option is usually to pay for an expensive rush delivery.
Or order entirely new stock from the vendor. Right, both of which kill your profit margin. And ordering new stock is incredibly wasteful if you already have products sitting somewhere else in your network. Udistry does something very clever here. It takes the plan from OmniStream and treats it as a set of non-negotiable constraints.
Meaning it doesn't argue with the strategy, it just executes.
It just executes. It says, okay, you want these items in these stores. Let me look at where the inventory sits right now across the entire network.
Not just in the central warehouse.
Everywhere. Maybe there's a surplus of that old volumizing shampoo in a rural store where it's not selling at all. Maybe there's rosemary oil sitting in a depot meant for online orders. Udistry calculates the best way to rebalance the inventory.
It's like Robin Hood. Stealing from the stores where it's dead stock and giving it to the stores where it's hot.
It's asset utilization. Instead of buying new inventory, you are unlocking the value of the inventory you already own but have just misplaced.
That's so smart, because usually retailers just keep buying more stuff while the old stuff rots in the wrong place. That seems huge for sustainability, too.
Massive. And for cash flow, Udistry runs these scenarios side by side. It looks at the total value of goods moved, the number of stores impacted, logistics efficiency. It's asking, is it actually worth the gas money to move this one box?
And if the answer is yes,
It automatically generates the execution files. It creates the shipping manifests. The result is that inventory moves deliberately to protect cash and in-stock positions. You aren't just throwing money at the problem.
Okay, so let's look at the whole picture. Nimble spotted it, OmniStream planned it, Udistry moved it. This sounds great, but is it just 3 good software programs running on the same computer? The article made a really big deal about something called the synthesis.
This is the most critical takeaway for you to remember. If you remember nothing else, remember this. The magic wasn't that Nimble is a good tool or that Udistry is a good tool. It was the handoff.
The handoff.
Think about how this usually works in a big company. The insights guy finds a trend. He puts it in a PDF. He emails it to the planning team.
Who open it 3 days later.
Right. They make a spreadsheet. They email that to logistics. Logistics opens it a week later and says, sorry, can't do this. The trucks are all booked.
That's the friction. That's the months part of months to minutes.
That's the months, exactly. In this demo, there were no emails, no PDFs. Nimble passed its context directly to OmniStream via an API. OmniStream passed its constraints directly to Udistry. The output of one agent became the input of the next.
So it flows like a single brain.
That is the definition of agentic retail.
Yeah.
It's not just autonomy, it's orchestration. The agents function like a coordinated team. They negotiated the trade-offs instantly. You can imagine a conversation happening in milliseconds. OmniStream says, I need this in Chicago. Udistry replies, that will cost $500 in shipping. OmniStream recalculates, okay, is the profit margin worth $500? Yes, proceed.
And humans aren't in the middle of that specific micro decision.
No, and they shouldn't be. Humans aren't fast enough to do that calculation for 200 stores at once.
That's fascinating. It really challenges the idea of what a corporate strategy even looks like. It's less about PowerPoint presentations and more about setting the parameters for these agents to execute within.
It's speed and discipline. They compressed a months-long process into minutes. And this allows retailers to respond at the speed of culture, but, and this is the part the CFO cares about, while maintaining financial discipline. Usually, if you want speed, you had to burn cash.
Right. Fast, cheap, good pick too. That's the old saying.
Exactly. Agentic retail effectively lets you pick all 3.
So this was a demo at NRF back in 2026. It worked. But is this just a one-off? A cool science fair project, or are we seeing a real shift?
This is just the tip of the iceberg. The article mentions that Microsoft for Startups is curating hundreds of startups, building these specialized agents.
Hundreds.
Agents for merchandising, for supply chain, for marketing, for operations. The vision here is that we are moving away from the era of monolithic software.
You mean those giant, clunky enterprise platforms that try to do everything and end up being kind of mediocre at all of it?
Exactly. The ERP era, where you buy one giant system for 10 years. We are moving toward an ecosystem of specialists. You hire the best detective agent, the best strategist agent, the best mover agent, and you just let them talk to each other.
It feels like a massive shift in the whole operating model.
It is. We are moving from siloed and slow to integrated and immediate. It allows a giant lumbering retail chain to act with the agility of a startup.
You know, we always talk about digital transformation on this show, and usually it just means we digitized our paper forms.
That's right.
Oh.
We put the clipboard on an iPad.
This. This feels like actual transformation. It's changing how the decisions are made, not just how they're recorded.
It's changing the metabolism of the company. It's allowing the organization to think and act as one single organism rather than, these disjointed limbs flailing around.
So here's where I want to pivot to you, the listener. We've been talking about shampoo and retail shelves, but if you're listening to this and you work in banking or healthcare or manufacturing, does this apply? Or is this just a retail thing?
That is the provocative thought I want to leave everyone with. The technology to make a large organization agile exists today. It's not science fiction. It was on stage in 2026. It worked.
It just requires breaking down the walls between the data sets.
Right. So you should ask yourself, what are the silos in your organization? Where does the insight get stuck before it can become action?
Where's the handoff being dropped?
Exactly. In this retail example, the drop happens between merchandising and supply chain. In a hospital, it might be between patient intake and bed management. In a bank, maybe between risk assessment and customer service.
You have the insight, this patient needs a bed, or this customer is risky, but the execution arm of the company doesn't get the memo fast enough.
Precisely. If 3 agents can walk into a store and fix a supply chain crisis in minutes, what could 3 agents do in your industry?
That is the billion-dollar question.
It certainly is. And it makes you wonder, if the agents are doing the detecting and the planning and the moving, what are the humans doing?
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room. Are we just obsolete?
Not at all. The humans are setting the goals. The humans are deciding that we want to pursue scalp health in the first place.
Yeah.
The humans are defining the brand strategy. The agents are just figuring out the best way to execute it.
Strategy versus tactics.
Precisely. The agents clear the weeds so the humans can look at the horizon.
Oh, that gives us plenty to think about. Agentic retail, it's not just for selling rosemary oil. It sounds like a blueprint for the future of how businesses operate.
It's a brave new world out there.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you on the next one.